Hey YouTube, so this is Loken again. So today we're going to discuss what defines Wicca. What should define Wicca? Now, first off, let me explain that I am speaking on my own behalf as a self-identified Wiccan of the Alexandrian tradition for 33 years. I have performed a self-dedication ritual into Wicca, and I have been properly initiated into a Wiccan coven. Neither gives me the authority to speak for all Wiccans, as there is no central authority over all Wiccans. Not all Wiccans will agree in all aspects of their craft. As I will describe later on, there are some elements in common that can be defined as Wiccan, but not all Wiccans may agree with my conclusions or agree with my opinions. Simply put, as there are as many stars in the sky, so are there as many beliefs, even within the Wiccan community, and each belief is equally as bright and beautiful and unique as another. So first, let's define the term Wicca. Now, as I have mentioned before in another video, the term Wicca is Old English meaning a male witch. Wicce means a female witch, and Wiccan is the masculine plural, and Wiccan is the feminine plural. Nowadays, the term Wicca has gained a new meaning and evolved to describe a practice of witchcraft. And the term Wiccan refers to a practitioner of that craft. For example, people refer to Wiccans as people who practice the religion of Wicca. Both Wicca and Wiccan today have several meanings. One, it is the term that has caught on to describe a branch of paganism originally practiced by Gerald Gardner and his initiates afterward who claim a lineage back to him. Number two, it's a term that has been adopted by some to describe their practice and may or may not have any direct initiatory line that can be traced to Gerald Gardner. The term Wicca cannot be used to describe just any New Age practice that has been created out of the fanciful imagination of any number of writers. To be termed Wiccan, a practice must have a common ritual framework, a similar ethic or a philosophy, or similar traits that can distinguish it from any number of so-called family traditions or any made-up practice. Now, Gerald Gardner claims to have been initiated into the New Forest Coven in 1939, and this seems an acceptable date for the birth of modern Wicca. There are those who claim it is older than this, but for the purposes of this video, I say 1939 as the start of modern-day Wicca. Other concepts that have been posted about Wicca on YouTube are: you cannot be a solitary Wicca, you have to practice in a coven. Yes and no. British traditional Wicca is an initiatory mystery tradition, and to be a Wiccan you should be initiated into a coven by someone recognized and of a proper degree. However, today there are those who call themselves Wiccan but practice solitary. There are properly initiated Gardnerian and Alexandrian Wicca who practice solitary and do not belong to a coven. Only those initiated into a Gardnerian or Alexandrian, also known as British Traditional Wicca Coven, are real Wiccan. Yes and no. This was true for a number of early years of the craft, but since the publication of Scott Cunningham, Raymond Buckland, Janet and Stuart Farrar, and many other authors who have a self-dedication or self-initiation ritual in their book, many individuals claim to be Wiccan. And these individuals feel they are entitled to call themselves Wiccan. There is nothing wrong with being a self-dedicated Wiccan, but to be initiated into a Wiccan coven is a different experience. I think we should be honest with ourselves and those around us and respect both the solitary self-dedicant and the witch who has undergone the ordeal of initiation. So, are countless paths out there. How do we find common ground and define those as Wiccan, as opposed to non-Wiccan? We will have to find the commonality of a ritual framework, tools, and festivals. A common Wiccan ritual framework consists of 1. The consecration of tools, a circle, and or those present by the 4 elements of water, earth, represented by salt, air, represented by incense, and fire, represented by a candle or a flame. They will cast a circle and stay in the circle, considering it not only a protective barrier and container for energy, but also a division between the worlds. They will typically call the elements of earth, air, fire, and water at quarter directions of north, east, south, and west. Typically, they will draw down the goddess into a high priest called Theurgy. The high priestess may or may not speak a charge. There will be a rune dance, consecration of liquid and food, and a closing ritual. Some of the common elements of Wicca are the use of a candle, statue, and or other item to symbolize a god and a goddess. Some of the common tools are an altar, an athame, a chalice, a pentacle, and candles for the 4 directions. They will celebrate 4 main sabbats: February 2nd, May 1st, August 1st, and November 1st. The names may be different. Sometimes they will also celebrate the lesser sabbats of spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, and winter solstice. They will join together for the 13 full moons in a solar year, known as esbats. So those are the common elements of Wicca. If you are practicing a tradition or a craft that falls within that framework, then you can probably safely call yourself Wiccan. Now, there may be people who challenge you, and if they challenge you, what they're actually thinking of is, as I described before, they're thinking of an initiatory Wiccan line. But as I've described in this, and I hope I've done it fairly clearly, even though it's kind of probably boring hearing me read from a script, probably sound like a telemarketer, is that nowadays, there are people who call themselves Wiccan, and they have every right to call themselves a Wiccan, but they also should understand that those who have gone an initiation and call themselves a Wiccan, there has to be a respect for both of those individuals. So, anyhow, this is Lai Logan, and I hope this gives a little bit of clarity, and I will speak later on the foundations of Wicca and its historical, archaeological, and linguistic evidence. Thank you. Blessed be.